Vampiric Attachment, How Narcissists Hook You, Then Feed. Welcome to the Family Roles series, Inside Free Me. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and today we're going to confront a dynamic that's as common as it is overlooked, something I call vampiric attachment. If you've ever felt emotionally drained, consistently destabilized, or like you were being used, but couldn't explain how, especially by someone close to you, this is the episode you've been waiting for. This isn't about drama. It's about design. Narcissistic individuals, particularly within the family unit, don't just hurt you. They hook you. They mirror your strengths, exaggerate their affection, and create artificial intimacy to earn your trust. But what they're really after is access to your emotional labor, your energy, your presence, your support, your silence. It starts as connection. It ends as consumption. In a narcissistic system, the family doesn't function as a unit, it functions as a power structure. Some people are rewarded for compliance. Others are punished for clarity. But at the center of that structure is a person who sees connection not as mutual, but as supply. That's where vampiric attachment begins. They study what lights you up so they can eventually use it to shut you down. You're not chosen for love, you're chosen for function. Narcissistic parents, siblings, and even spouses lock into those with the most light because that's what they need to survive. They cannot generate energy from within, so they feed off yours. At first, it looks like admiration. They flood you with attention. They act amazed by you. You finally feel seen. But then, once you open up, they flip the script. Suddenly, your emotions are too much. Your needs are an inconvenience. Your autonomy becomes a threat. From there, the cycle begins. Build you up, tear you down, extract what's left. They aren't always cruel in the obvious ways. Many narcissists don't scream, they smile. But underneath the performance is a core need to destabilize you just enough that you stay dependent on their approval. That's the mechanism of vampiric attachment. It's not about overt domination. It's about keeping you in a state of self-questioning, emotional reactivity, and performance-based worth. What makes this cycle so dangerous is how deeply it impacts your biology. Most people don't realize that narcissistic abuse creates the same neurochemical pattern as addiction. During the early stages of love bombing or idealization, your body produces a flood of dopamine and oxytocin chemicals responsible for bonding and pleasure. You're rewarded for being available, agreeable, selfless. Your system learns to equate their praise with safety. But then, just as quickly, that reward is withdrawn. You're criticized, ignored, invalidated, or given the silent treatment. Your body panics. Not because of love, but because of the drop in chemical regulation. You start working harder to get the connection back. And when they reappear with crumbs of affection, your brain registers it as relief. That loop tension, fear, then reward, mimics the reinforcement pattern of gambling, drug use, and behavioral addiction. This is why so many survivors say, I knew they were harming me, but I still felt pulled to them. It's not a mystery, it's conditioning. This cycle forms the foundation of long-term trauma bonds. Over time, you lose track of where they end and you begin. You start internalizing their voice. You hear their criticism in your decisions. You second-guess your instincts. And worst of all, you normalize the instability. You confuse anxiety with excitement. You confuse the emotional chaos with passion. And you interpret the craving for connection as evidence that they're your person. When in reality, the craving is a withdrawal symptom. Nowhere is this more dangerous than inside the family system. When the narcissist is your parent, you grow up learning that love is a transaction, that your worth is tied to how useful, compliant, or emotionally available you are. You're praised for being quiet, for being tough, for never complaining. You're expected to absorb emotional dysfunction while protecting the family image. And by the time you're old enough to notice, you're already conditioned to confuse proximity with safety, even when that proximity is poisoning you. In families like this, roles become contracts. The golden child is rewarded for upholding the narcissist's image. The scapegoat is targeted for disrupting the illusion. The lost child disappears to avoid conflict altogether. But the one thing they all share is this. No one is loved unconditionally. Everyone is loved for how well they serve the system. If you shine too brightly, set boundaries, or question the script, you're punished. Sometimes covertly, sometimes publicly, but always deliberately. Because to the narcissist, your independence is a threat to the ecosystem they built to sustain themselves. Leaving that dynamic isn't just emotional, it's existential. It feels like betraying your own blood. Like severing a part of your identity. That's because the attachment wasn't just relational, it was neurological. Your body got wired to equate love with instability, presence with performance, and connection with sacrifice. So even when you intellectually understand the abuse, your body still longs for the pattern. That's the first step to freedom. Knowing that the pull you feel isn't proof of love. It's proof of trauma conditioning. Your craving isn't a sign you've lost someone important. It's a sign your nervous system is still detoxing from their manipulation. And that detox takes time. It requires more than distance. It requires deprogramming. To break the spell of vampiric attachment, you must reclaim your emotional neutrality. You must stop reacting to their games. Whether they bait you with praise or guilt, silence or chaos, you don't take the hook. You don't defend yourself. You don't try to win. You observe. You detach. You preserve your energy like it's sacred because it is. Healing also means stopping the rituals that keep them alive in your mind. Stop checking their page. Stop analyzing their behavior. Stop playing conversations on a loop in your head, trying to figure out what you could have said better. That's how they stay in your energy field without even being in the room. And as long as they're in your field, they're still feeding. This isn't about going no contact for revenge. It's about closing the door to energetic access. When you no longer respond, explain, or react, you cut the emotional supply. And once the supply dries up, the narcissist either escalates or moves on to a new source. Either way, you exit the system. And that's the goal of this series. Not just to name the roles, but to exit them. Because you were not born to be a container for someone else's dysfunction. You were not designed to serve a hierarchy that shrinks you to fit its image. And you were never meant to spend your life trying to earn love from someone who only loves control. Vampiric attachment feeds on your confusion. Starve the confusion, and you kill the cycle. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and what you just watched is part of my signature program, the Chosen One series inside School of Soul. This series is not just a course, it's a blueprint for those who know they were different from the start. The black sheep, the scapegoat, the truth teller, the cycle breaker. Inside, you'll discover the family roles playbook, the golden child, the scapegoat, the enabler, the lost child, and how to finally step out of the part you were cast in without consent. How the black sheep becomes the goat, turning rejection into radical transformation and leadership. How to break generational curses and rewrite ancestral contracts so the pain stops with you. And how to recognize and escape modern forms of spiritual and technological targeting, from gang stalking to synthetic synchronicity. This isn't just about survival. It's about awakening, about reclaiming your voice, your lineage, and your destiny as one of the chosen ones. Click the link below to access the full series now, because the role ends the moment you decide it does, and the real script begins with you.